The decision was logged as a temporary strategic concession. That was the official wording. In truth, it was the single most reckless act of my entire career. I am Vila Teshran, Senior Fleet Architect of the Cartoon Imperium, and for 312 standard cycles I designed warships no other species could rival. Our vessels were not merely machines. They were philosophies given form, balanced, elegant, efficient. Every corridor followed harmonic ratios. Every weapon system was optimized to exact tolerances. Nothing excessive, nothing wasted. Perfection did not need brutality. That belief held until I met the humans. Chapter 2. Humanity, the unrefined variable. The humans entered galactic awareness quietly. No grand announcement. No conquest fleets. No philosophical manifestos broadcast across the void. They arrived as logistical contractors. Scavengers, most called them. Their ships were crude, welded plates layered atop older hulls, engines retrofitted from civilian frames, weapon mounts that appeared improvised. And yet, they worked. Human ships flew despite damage that would have crippled cartoon vessels. Their crews adapted systems mid-battle. They rerouted power manually. They bypassed safeties we considered sacred. They treated rules as suggestions. We treated that as barbarism. Chapter 3. The war we were losing perfectly. The Ravek swarm taught us humility. They were not brilliant strategists. They did not employ elegance. They overwhelmed systems through sheer persistence. Our warships were superior individually, but wars are not won individually. Every engagement followed the same pattern. We executed flawless formations. We inflicted disproportionate losses. The swarm absorbed them. They adapted. Our casualty projections grew worse each cycle. Still, the Admiralty refused change. Perfection does not adapt, they said. It endures. They were wrong. Chapter 4. The Human Proposal. The humans were not part of the Alliance. They had offered support early. Logistics, repair crews, auxiliary pilots. We declined combat integration. Then came Commander Elena Cross. She did not bow. She did not flatter. She studied our fleet schematics like an engineer examining a puzzle. "You're flying masterpieces," she said calmly, "into a grinder." Her proposal was offensive. She requested temporary access to a cartoon frontline warship. Not to command, to study. The Admiralty laughed. I did not. Chapter 5. Why I said yes. I am often asked why I overruled protocol. The truth is simple. Humans asked questions we never had. What happens if this fails? Why can't the crew override this? Why is survival subordinate to symmetry? They did not admire our ships. They challenged them. Against my better judgment, I authorized the transfer. 1 warship, 1 human engineering team, 30 standard days. The Admiralty believed they would learn nothing. I fear they would learn everything. Chapter 6. The Blueprint Violation. Within the first cycle, humans had done the unthinkable. They disassembled sections of the ship, not to improve performance, to understand failure. They mapped stress points, simulated catastrophic damage, overloaded systems deliberately. I protested. Commander Cross merely smiled. "Your ship is perfect," she said, "but perfection doesn't bleed. Crews do." By the 10th cycle, my console alerts were constant. Unauthorized redundancies, manual override networks, emergency power loops, ugly changes, effective ones. Chapter 7. The Test. The Raveks attacked early. A full swarm assault on an outlying system. The modified cartoon ship, my ship, was deployed without ceremony. I watched from the command nexus, horrified. Damage reports streamed in, then stabilized, then revised. The ship should have been dead 3 times over. Instead, it kept fighting. Human modifications allowed it to function while broken. Not perfect. Alive. Chapter 8. The Uncomfortable Truth. When the ship returned, scarred but operational, the Admiralty demanded explanations. I gave them 1 sentence. The humans do not build for victory, I said. They build for survival. The silence that followed was deafening. And in that silence, I understood something terrifying. If humanity ever perfected our ships, the galaxy would never be the same. Chapter 9. When perfection failed publicly. The Admiralty did not like surprises. They tolerated them even less when those surprises arrived covered in scorched armor, leaking plasma coolant, and and broadcasting a kill count higher than any single vessel in the war. The modified warship, designation KT Vanguard, returned to Khartoum space under its own power. That alone should have been impossible. According to its original blueprints, the damage it sustained should have caused cascading reactor failure within 6 minutes of first contact. Instead, it limped home after 14 hours of continuous combat. Human engineering teams disembarked without ceremony. No celebration, no pride. They treated survival as expected. That disturbed the Admiralty more than any failure could have. Chapter 10. The Human Design Philosophy. The official debrief was tense. Fleet Lords demanded explanations. I provided schematics. Commander Elena Cross provided something more dangerous. Context. You design ships like sculptures, she said, standing before the projection of the Vanguard. They are beautiful, efficient, but they assume the universe will play fair. A Fleet Lord bristled. Our designs have dominated for centuries. Yes, Cross replied calmly, against opponents who respected physics the same way you do. The Ravex did not. Human modifications had introduced redundant power paths with no efficiency optimization, manual control access everywhere, armament to deform, not resist, weapon systems capable of firing while partially destroyed. These are violations, one architect hissed. Cross nodded. We call them options. Chapter 11, Controlled Chaos. The second deployment was intentional. The Admiralty wanted proof the first battle was an anomaly. KT Vanguard was sent directly into the densest Ravex formation recorded to date. I watched, helpless, as the ship took hits that would have vaporized its pristine predecessor. And then something extraordinary happened. It adapted mid-battle. Human crews rerouted weapons to thrusters, converted cargo bays into heat sinks, jettisoned entire decks to stabilize spin. No approval requests. No waiting for command. The ship fought like a living thing. The Ravex hesitated. That hesitation cost them dearly. Chapter 12, The First Imitation. War changes people. It changes civilizations faster. Within weeks, human advisors were requested, not invited, across the fleet. Quietly, Khartoum engineers began copying human redundancies. Not openly, not proudly, but desperately. I found junior architects running unauthorized simulations titled "If This Breaks, Then What?" That question alone would have been considered heresy cycles earlier. Now it was survival. Chapter 13. The moment I understood. The realization came during a routine inspection. Commander Cross and I stood inside the Vanguard's engineering section. Pipes crossed at odd angles. Panels were mismatched. Warning labels were handwritten. Ugly. Functional. You know why this works, Cross said, watching my reaction. Because you abandoned harmony, I replied. She shook her head. No, she said softly, because we accepted disharmony. Humans didn't eliminate failure. They planned around it. That was the difference. Chapter 14, The Admiralty's Fear. Fear spread faster than the Ravex. Not of defeat, of humanity. What if they apply this thinking to our entire fleet? One Fleet Lord whispered. What if they redesign everything? The answer was simple. They already were. Human influence seeped into doctrine, training, command autonomy. The Imperium was becoming flexible. That terrified those who had built their identity on control. Chapter 15. Why the warship was never coming back. The Ravex launched their final offensive sooner than expected. A swarm large enough to crush the Imperium outright. The Admiralty demanded the retain of the Vanguard. I refused. Officially, I cited operational necessity. Unofficially, I knew the truth. The ship was no longer ours. It had become something else. Something human. Chapter 16. The Turning of the War. The Vanguard did not lead the counterattack. It broke it. Human-modified tactics spread across the fleet. Ships fought while burning. Crews survived losses that would have shattered morale before. The Ravex began to lose ground. Not because we were stronger, but because we were harder to kill. That was a human lesson. Chapter 20. The Battle That Wasn't Won. The Vanguard was deployed at the center of the swarm. Alone. The Admiralty protested. I authorized the launch. If humanity was right, victory was irrelevant. The ship disappeared beneath enemy mass. Sensors reported catastrophic failure within seconds. Then minutes passed. Then hours. Fragments of the Vanguard emerged, sections fighting independently. weapon systems firing from what should have been wreckage. The Ravex adapted. The Vanguard adapted faster. The swarm slowed, then stalled, then fractured, not because it was destroyed, but because it could no longer predict when the fight would end. Chapter 21, Humanity's Secret Weapon. The Ravex relied on one principle: attrition breaks opponents. Humans had removed that lever. They did not retreat when losing. They did not stop when damaged. They did not surrender when logic demanded it. They fought until the enemy lost certainty. That uncertainty shattered the swarm's cohesion. For the first time in recorded war history, the Ravex disengaged. They fled. Chapter 22, Why I Gave the Warship Away. After the war, the Admiralty demanded the Vanguards retain. I refused again. This time, openly. That ship is no longer a cartoon design, I said. It violates every principle we hold. And yet it saved us, a fleet lord said quietly. Yes, I replied, which is why it does not belong to us. The Imperium did not lose a warship. We gained a lesson. Chapter 23, Blueprints of Greatness. Years later, cartoon shipyards changed. Designs became uglier, systems less efficient, control less absolute. Survivability rose. Flexibility followed. We did not copy human ships. We copied human thinking. Greatness, I learned, was not symmetry or perfection. It was the ability to continue functioning after perfection failed. Epilogue, a gift retained. Commander Cross visited me one final time. You never asked for the ship back, she said. I inclined my head. It taught us more by leaving. She smiled faintly. Then we'll keep it flying. As she departed, I watched the Vanguard, scared, mismatched, alive, vanish into the stars. And I recorded the final line of my report to the Imperium. I did not give the humans one of our warships. I gave them our limits, and they showed us how to survive without them.